So I was just reading one of Renee Brooks's blogs. If you don't know Renee Brooks, she is Black Girl Lost Keys, and she is adult ADHD and blogs about it. And it made me think that I would like to talk a little bit about my childhood school experiences with ADHD. So I was just diagnosed with ADHD this past January. This was 2020. So it's been an exciting year to have that diagnosis. Although I had figured it out for myself sometime before that, but it takes a while to kind of sort out the details, let me tell you. And me and Renee and a lot of other people with ADHD are what the sort of the colloquialism of our thing is called twice exceptional, which means that you've got two major things that throw you off, in this case being academically gifted and also having ADHD. Some people are thrice exceptional and they throw another one of the things like autism into the mix. I don't have really a third thing. I do have a slight dyslexia, but I've been able to overcome that surprisingly well. But how come this was never caught when I was a child? Well, let's talk a little bit about why. First of all, when you are twice exceptional, you're real smart. It means you pick things up fast. And usually, not always, it tends to mean that you are a good test taker, you're good at answering questions, and you are good at learning material in such a rapid fashion that you don't need the level of repetition school wants to give you. What does that mean in reality? I remembered shit without doing any homework. That's most of what it meant. And I was bad at homework. Oh man, was I bad at homework. I spent a couple of years catching up to all of my homework. I think this was middle school. On the bus ride to middle school consistently, I had a friend who lived down the road. She was wonderful. She was on top of everything. And I would get to her house where the bus picked us up and I would say, "What's due today?" And I would get it done. And I was so good that most of the time it was excellent work and I still got good grades on it. That doesn't always work though. In fourth grade, I lost my science book. So this is multiple problems. First of all, these are the books that are lent to you and you're not supposed to lose. So I was like, oh shit, I lost my science book. Second of all, we used it in class. So that was inherently problematic. I had no idea what happened to it. Not even a little bit. So I spent about a month of fourth grade consistently finding ways out of science class in the afternoon. I went to the nurse a lot. I went other places. I tried to like only forget my book like once a week when it would be reasonable and not literally the entire time for a month. I eventually found it. I actually don't know if I found it or I found another science book sitting in the classroom, but I found something. So that worked out pretty well. I was excellent at doing projects immediately before they were due, like the night before. My projects were always pretty good, except that they were kind of messy. I would lose points on that kind of thing. It was clear I didn't go over things. Not that I was good at going over things anyway. I mean, half the problem is that like when you write something, like an essay, you're supposed to write it and then wait a bit and then reread it and see if you can improve it and edit it. Well, let me tell you, with ADHD, it doesn't matter if I have the extra time to improve it and read over it. Oh man, I can't do it. If I wrote something, rereading it is so hard. I'll use that, talk about that another time. I have gotten better at that. But when I was young, forget about it. It was either right the first time or not, so I might as well write it the night before and turn it in. Like I said, I was real smart, so I could fake it. I took piano starting at about age 7. I still play the piano. I'm actually very good at piano. I was so good at piano, in fact, and I was so good at sight reading that I also never practiced that. Couldn't even get my shit together to practice piano. And honestly, my teacher mostly couldn't tell because I was picking it up so quickly and sight reading so well that he let me go. We at later points realized he did not know I had ADHD at the time. And actually, I should go back and talk to him about this. But man, he figured out how to manage that factor in me surprisingly well. I never got bored in piano. We were allowed to try different things, go different places, and I never had to like completely sit down and fully memorize a classical piece. I would have died. I would have quit. Let's be real. So this is a gifted student with ADHD. I do what I can and I get by. And I was shockingly good at it. I mean, I could pick up material like nobody's business. I could figure out critical thinking type stuff like nothing. I couldn't memorize too quickly, and in classes that required that always kind of hit me a little harder. So we had to like learn all of these vocabulary words when I was young. Nah, I was bad at that. I faked that pretty good just by sort of learning the edges of words and finding my way around it. Surprisingly enough, that works in the GREs too. I got better at words, but then never learned my times tables. Not for nothing. Didn't have to. Could calculate them in my head as fast as someone else could have them memorized. Like I literally just saw the numbers, or don't ask. It's one of those math brain things. And I did get in trouble in school when I hit teachers who didn't get it. Like, for example, I had a middle school math teacher who got real mad at me because I couldn't listen to her drone on in class. She sat with an overhead projector, wrote equations, erased equations. I was so done, and I already knew all the math. So I read books. Then I got yelled at. She really chilled out when I joined the math team and started winning competitions. That works. Same problem in high school science. And teachers who just did not get me and my not listening and not focusing, they'd get real mad. I used to write song lyrics in notebooks. Couldn't remember facts for nothing. Got Jesus Christ Superstar and Rent memorized beginning to end. It's a very ADHD thing to do. So I used to write the lyrics to that in my notebooks when I was bored, and I got caught one day and asked me what I was doing. I literally said that. I was like, okay, I'm writing lyrics. So she got real mad at me. And then at a future point when we were arguing back test points, which was a thing that was allowed, and I knew one of my answers was right because I'm smart, I requested a second opinion and got everybody in trouble. I was that kind of ADHD kid. But again, joined a science team, suddenly whatever. Also had a science teacher who said that you could not pass her class without a calculator. But I could never remember my calculator. Fortunately, my father taught me to do square roots on paper when I was about 12, so I didn't actually need a calculator because that was all you needed it for. I could do all the rest of the calculations on paper. Calculations work. I actually like doing calculations because the numbers are constantly changing, so you're always doing something with them. Square roots on paper are super fun. I will make a video for it at some point. Anyway, gifted kid with ADHD, you just don't even notice. I'm bored and nobody cares because I'm doing well enough that it's like, well, this isn't a problem. Like that was the thing. It wasn't a grade point problem. I actually did very well in my classes. In fact, I was 7th in my class. I probably should have been 1, but I failed to hand in a lot of assignments and did things late and messed it up. I continued that into college, in which I still ran late, but I got a little bit better. I made myself busier, so I had to get things done. That helps me, surprisingly enough. And then in grad school, I finally really sorted out sort of how to like functionally manage things, mostly. Mostly I'm still just real smart. Anyway, I wanted to reflect on that and how you could be a gifted ADHD kid and nobody might even notice. Thanks for listening.